Prenups! Prenups! I'm Lindsay Sparrow, and this video is on prenups. Prenups. Oh, what a conversation. I get asked about them all the time. And first I want to say, please find a lawyer and talk to the lawyers about the prenups because it really is a legal matter. But I think I'd like to chime in on prenup, don't do a prenup, what that looks like. It's kind of interesting when you think back to our parents, our grandparents. It was nothing for them to be getting together, married at 18. Well, at 18, you could probably argue there weren't a lot of assets to be had at that time. So realistically, when our parents or grandparents were getting together, they were most definitely pretty poor at the time, really didn't have any assets to speak of. So they really built their lives together and built their assets together. It's a different world now with people coming into relationships at very different places. So it would not be uncommon for someone to enter a relationship and they already have their own home, or someone's entering a relationship and they have a lot of student loan debt where the other person does not. This is all where prenups become very important and a pretty important conversation. I think prenups are looked at, and remember, in Canada they're called marriage contracts, but prenups are something that people don't want to talk about, and they think that it's going to just end up in a big fight. But I want to assure you that prenups don't have to. The conversation with your spouse or partner about prenups is not, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be this big, negative, crazy thing. Because in the end, if you're entering at different stages, so one person has debt, one person has assets, or maybe you both have your own assets that you have built over time. You each have your own house, you each have, chances are those are not going to be valued equally. And therefore, writing it all down in the form of a prenup so that everybody knows what you're coming into the relationship with, or if one person is making significantly more money than the other, this is another reason why people would have prenups. I think the whole going through the steps of a prenup is actually pretty good. It's a good way for couples to actually figure out and start talking about money. I get in front of a lot of couples that just got married and they're just now talking about the finances. You should be talking about your finances way before you say I do. So going through the steps of actually looking at a prenup, is it right for you as a couple? Is it what's advised? The steps of actually listing all your assets, listing all your debts, talking about how you feel about money, how you feel about spending, how you feel about, what's the priorities? Do we want to pay off debt first? Do we want to save first? Is travel the most important thing? Having these conversations is only going to help you and set you up for an even better, more healthy relationship together, relationship with money. Remember, the number one reason for divorce is fighting over money. So prenups are a good way to put it all out on the table. Even if in the end you don't end up signing a prenup, even just going through the steps is kind of an interesting thing to be doing. And it kind of forces you to put everything on the table and talk it out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an uncomfortable thing. And just because you ask for a prenup, it doesn't mean that you're worried that you're gonna get screwed. That's, I think, what a lot of people worry about. But prenups are extremely common now because of the fact that people are coming into relationships. It's sometimes their second marriage, their third marriage. They're coming in with different levels of assets. They're not 16 or 18 years old at this point. They've had years of working, years of establishing themselves. So prenups are pretty commonplace. And every single lawyer that I talk to is a huge advocate of prenups. And I think if the relationship does separate at some point, even if it's very amicable, and you see a lot of that, uncoupling, and when that happens, if you do have a prenup in place, it takes a lot of that anger and a lot of that away because it was already established beforehand. And with divorce rates at 50% plus, going through the process of talking about a prenup, signing a prenup. This is just very commonplace, and I think where we do put a little bit too much into the emotions around a prenup when really it's pretty commonplace now. And so I just say, talk to a lawyer about it, talk to your spouse about it, put it on the table early, talk about what you guys want, see if you're on the same page. If you're on the same page and you have the same goals, maybe a prenup isn't as important. But if you go through the process and you find there's a lot of things that maybe you should be putting in and writing down, maybe a prenup's for you. But just get that advice from a lawyer, and don't worry about what your friends are doing. Only worry about what's best for you and your relationship. I'm Lindsay Sparrow. Follow me on Instagram at buythelatte and check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. Remember, invest and keep buying those lattes.